when Israel was formed, largely with the support of the Western countries, there was opposition to this massive movement of the Jewish communities into Palestine. And the United Nations also, when they did the partition plan, some of the worst areas, mostly desert, were set aside for the Palestinian people. Obviously, the Palestinians were very concerned that they should be overnight losing the territories where their ancestors have lived for more than 2,000 years. There was a certain military opposition to the Israelis. This military opposition was grossly inadequate, served no useful purpose, and Israel was able to proclaim that a state was legally formed in 1948. So since then, you had the war of 1967, when Israel further expanded its territorial control and occupied West Bank, Gaza, and East Jerusalem. Israel declared that East Jerusalem and West Jerusalem were now the united and eternal capital of Israel, though this is not allowed under international law. Israel has also occupied West Bank and Gaza. If you count, the West Bank today has 3.6 million people, Gaza has 2.3 million people. There are also large numbers of Palestinians who live in the East Jerusalem, and there are some non-Jewish people who are citizens of Israel. Obviously, there has been sustained confrontation between the occupied Palestinians and the Israeli security forces. Only one attempt was ever made by Israel to address the issues of occupation and sovereignty, end occupation, and provide a sovereign state for Israel. It was a half-hearted measure. The Oslo Accord yielded a certain autonomous territory, autonomous role for the Palestinians located at Ramallah, where they had control over certain municipal services. The security control over the territories was entirely with Israel. Israel made no effort after that to address the issues of sovereignty. And from that day till today, over the last 35 years, we see no sign of any movement forward that would end the occupation and restore to the Palestinians their state, their sense of dignity, and the confirmation of their identity. So this is the background. In the where the West Bank is concerned, over the last several years, Israel has systematically occupied territories there and set up settlements, so that now about between 500,000 and 700,000 Israelis live there, and they control more than half the West Bank. That means the 3.6 million Palestinians live on the balance of the territory. They are subjected to considerable harassment, deprivation, and privation. And now, more recently, the Israeli settlers have become extremely aggressive and have started mounting attacks upon them. And over the last 2 years, more than 2,000 West Bank people have also been killed by the settlers and the security forces. As far as Gaza is concerned, Israel withdrew from Gaza. Its last settlers were withdrawn in 2005, 2006, and it became, but unfortunately, Israel did not end the control over Gaza. So you had Israeli forces who were surrounding the territory, controlled the movement of the people, ensured that large numbers of them got no employment, and it became an open prison. And more than 60% of the people of Gaza were without any kind of employment. So they live in squalid conditions. Obviously, in this background, from time to time, the Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza have risen. This is known as the Intifada. So you had the first Intifada that occurred in the 1980s. You had the second intifada that took place in the year 2000. In all instances where the Israelis have encountered opposition from Palestinians, they have used very lethal force and have inflicted extraordinary violence upon the Palestinians. From time to time, there have been regular military encounters. These have taken place in 2014, 2016, 2019, and 2024. And then, of course, we had the war from 2023. So that means there is a very long history of confrontation where Israeli forces have entered Gaza and inflicted considerable damage upon the Palestinian population. The Palestinians in 2019 had also tried to use peaceful methods in the sense that they had carried out peaceful protests in Gaza. But what the Israelis did, that instead of that, they would use snipers to kill the large numbers of the demonstrators. And more than 200 Palestinians were shot dead by the Israelis. What happened 2 years ago is that this was a major Hamas attack upon Israel. This was unexpected. The Israelis were ill prepared for it. On 7th October 2023, it was found that the Israelis collapsed. Their military leadership was ill prepared. Their intelligence had no idea about it. The political leadership was found seriously wanting. There was no sense of leadership. We know now that the Hamas was initially expecting a very minor episode. They would take a few Israelis hostage and seek the release of the prisoners that Israel has. But when they found that there was no opposition to their attack, they were able to inflict extraordinary damage upon the Israelis. About 1,200 of them were killed, including 400 armed forces personnel, and several hundred Israelis were also taken hostage. Now, in order to compensate for this failure, this comprehensive Israeli failure, Prime Minister Netanyahu has decided that the only policy he will follow is the policy of total violence, mass murder, which now the international community refers to as genocide. In the last 2 years, in the name of opposing Hamas, 66,000 Palestinians have been killed. More than 60% of them are women and children. This is not a fight between Israel and Hamas. It is a fight by Israel to inflict very heavy casualties on the Palestinian people in order and inflict extraordinary damage in that enclave, make their life so miserable that somehow these people just go away. They have destroyed their educational institutions, their accommodation, hospitals, directly targeted doctors, and because this ugly story should not go out, they have killed more than 200 journalists as well, most of them targeted by their snipers. So it has been a horrendous experience as far as Palestine is concerned. What we have also seen, that throughout this period, there is no authority in the world that is capable of ensuring that the violence of the Israelis is brought to an end. Various institutions, the United Nations Security Council, the United Nations General Assembly, the International Court of Justice, the International Criminal Court, and numerous other credible institutions have spoken out against the Israeli violence, but Israel has shrugged it off. Throughout this period, Israel has enjoyed unstinted support from the United States. From day one, the United States has provided weaponry to the Israelis, and beyond that, they have given them total diplomatic support. At the United Nations Security Council, they have repeatedly vetoed resolutions that were critical of Israel, and the numerous resolutions that have been passed by the General Assembly indicate that the international community uh, overwhelmingly condemns Israeli violence. But so long as they enjoy the support of the Americans, they have no interest whatsoever in now bringing about a truce or a ceasefire and end the violence. My own assessment is that Prime Minister Netanyahu needs this continued violence, because the minute he stops, you are likely to see various investigations initiated within Israel to find out what was the political and military failure that led to the conflict in the first place. Besides this, he also has pending criminal cases against him for gross misconduct, which are also likely to be reopened. So, for all these reasons, Netanyahu is not interested in a real ceasefire and a peace process. He is committed to continued violence, knowing full well that there is no one in the world who can restrain him.